if you start researching what happened right after the Nat Turner Rebellion, you're going to find that a lot of the land that blacks owned was sold off because the white man.
This is Blair Durham with Black Wall Street Today, your media hub for all things Black entrepreneurship, politics, news, and events in Hampton Roads and beyond.
Wouldn't you like to be a guest on Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham? Well, the link is in the show notes.
And now, here's your host, Blair Durham.
Welcome to this edition of Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham. Very excited about the upcoming guest. This is a gentleman that I've had the pleasure of working with over the course of the last 6 months and have really gained a wealth of knowledge as a result of his participation as a financial advisor. He is someone that I like to say has done a lot of due diligence in this regard. More than 12 years experience working in the financial services sector. We are interviewing today none other than Mr. Curtis Lassiter. Curtis, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you doing, Blair? Glad to be here.
I'm doing well. A little bit of a sinus scenario, so I apologize if I'm a bit nasal today, but I'm feeling great and I'm excited to talk with you, particularly given the current kind of landscape as it relates to investing, coming out of COVID, as it were, and all of the changes that we have seen by way of obviously laws and industry and so forth. So I think this will be a fruitful conversation for everybody involved. So thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. After a challenging year, what signs of hope are being seen by investors in 2021?
Well, there's a lot of signs of hope. We went pretty much to the bottom in a lot of different categories, and sometimes you can get to a point where there's no way to look but up. And so there's a whole lot of hope. There's a whole lot of money on the sidelines. There's a whole lot of extra room to grow and to run with. So we're expecting a lot of good earnings from different companies, different sectors. And I'm very excited. I think the industry and in general is very excited. There's a lot of things to look forward to. So now is a really good time to at least start to look at investing. Start to look at your portfolios and just try to make sure that you're going to be able to take advantage of some of the stimulus packages that have come out very recently. So I'm very excited.
I like how you said that, money on the sidelines, right? When I think about opportunity, I sort of went down a rabbit hole earlier in my head, just thinking about all of the industry that's been created as a result of COVID. So many ways to enter, not just from an investing standpoint, but also from an entrepreneurship standpoint, and just hoping that people are kind of dialed into what's taking place, thinking about how they can capitalize. You mentioned One Avenue, the piece about some of the different stimulus packages that are coming down. I mean, certainly viable, but I think there's so many others, if we lean into our creativity. But let me ask you this question. Are there still potential risks?
Yes, and one of those risks is inflation. So if you were to look at the market last week, the market went down a little bit, and one of the concerns was inflation. So prices are starting to elevate a lot faster than what the government was expecting, than what a lot of investors were expecting. So last week there was a little temper tantrum. So there was some people that was basically people selling a little bit with that concern. But they're looking at that more as being what we would call transitory inflation. And what that is more of a temporary inflation mechanism. So normally when you do have robust inflation, the Fed will step in and they will start using some of their tools, for example, raising interest rates. But since it's transitory, they were thinking it's going to be more temporary. So since it's temporary, they're not really going to raise interest rates. So I would say about the last couple of days, you've seen the market a little bit more flat. But that's one of the headwinds. And then there's always unexpected things that can happen also. Just consumer confidence, any other thing. But very recently, it has been inflation. And I'll give you one other example. About 2 weeks ago, we had a disruption in gas. So that caused
that was a key. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Go ahead.
And I can't make this up. Like these are things that we were predicting that can possibly be headwinds, just like a disruption in something geographically. And what do you know? 2 weeks ago, we had our little short-lived gas prices, which was scary. Everything is scary when you're going through it. So those two things right there come to mind.
Yeah. So let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about your thoughts on tips for a sound investment process. So folks that may be new to investing, or even some seasoned investors, may feel like they're not getting the best advice, or they could be doing better, as it were. What tips do you typically provide when you're talking to people about how they should think about investing?
Well, first of all, you really need to look at you and be honest with yourself, honest with your goals and your priorities. Those two things are extremely important, goals and priorities. And then you come up with a strategy to help you achieve your goals and your goals and priorities. So what some people try to do is they just go in and they just want to invest really without any type of strategy or purpose. But when you're honest with yourself and you look at what's very important to you, and what important to you can be your children. It can be you wanting to purchase a home. It could be you wanting to retire early. It could be you wanting to accumulate $1 million. Whatever your goal or priority is, that's the strategy that we need to sit down and talk about to make sure that you're going to be able to hit that. And then it's good to just have checkpoints and work with an advisor. If an advisor is not doing that, then that's one thing that you want to do and want to include. One of the things I do with my clients, again, is I try to make sure that I have checkpoints and making sure that I'm having communication with my clients. And the reason why I do that, because guess what? What might be a priority today might not be a priority tomorrow. Things change. And we have this thing that happens, which is called life. So you can be, for example, you can be married and all of a sudden you separate, your priorities might change. But if you are not having a communication strategy with your advisor and your advisor is not picking up on that, then that can be a problem. Vice versa. You can be a single person, you want to get married, or you can all of a sudden have children come into the picture. Blair, you know what? A lot of us, especially in this generation, now I don't want to tell my age, but in my age, I'm in my 40s. But some of us have parents, like we live with our parents, or our parents are moving in. We also have children that are in college, some of them younger. So we're almost like a somewhat of a sandwich generation. But it's good to make sure that we're talking with somebody so that an advisor would know about these different things. So everybody's different. Everybody has a different things going on in their life. And so again, I know I keep repeating this, but I think it is worth repeating. Communicate what's going on in your life, what's going on when it comes to your priorities and goals. And just make sure that your advisor is on point with whatever your goals are. Because that's the person that's supposed to be helping you get to wherever it is that you're trying to get to.
I think it makes sense. So then in terms of supporting clients with their long-term goals, it's really about, it sounds like it's about setting some short-term kind of benchmarks for time that we're going to actually spend together reviewing who I am and what it is that I'm looking to do. That's what it sounds like, right?
That's exactly what it is. And Blair, there are a lot of people that may not want to look at everything over a 10-year, 20, 30, 40-year time horizon. Some people want to make their money now. And some people want to be able to have access to, again, being more tactical, what we would say, and being able to maybe buy some short-term stock so that they can in turn capitalize on those opportunities. And again, there's people like that. So what I try to do is just try to make sure that I'm there to give them advice, give them some of our data or what we think is going on with particular companies or what the street is saying about those companies. And just give our clients an all around strategy to be able to hit those goals, whether they're short-term or long-term goals.
Right. So, okay. In the portfolio management process, I'm keyed on social media to individuals who are stock market happy, let's just say. They're watching what's taking place. Oh, everybody needs to do this. Oh, everybody needs to do that. You need to pull this. And maybe there's a place for that, in investing. I'm certain that there is. But talk to us about the importance of discipline when you are managing a portfolio.
Okay, so there's this little strip. I don't want to call it a secret, but a lot of us who've been in the market for a while understand this. The market, and when I'm talking about the market, I'm talking about the stock market, all right, in general. And we can talk about almost any index, especially when it comes to stocks or equities. But the market drops, people get scared, fearful. Some people may call it capitulation, where they just start selling, okay? They start selling, and when you sell out of the market, that market goes somewhere, all right? A lot of time on the short term, it goes right into cash. And it sits there until people feel more comfortable coming back into the market. Now, sometimes there might be a situation where, let's say if the Fed, what we call it, may have to step in and start to add more money into the market or pump the economy up with more money. That money, again, has to go somewhere, okay? So you'll see it over time, and it happens all the time. It flows eventually right back into the market. The problem is people get fearful and they don't want to stay in there when the market is going down because they really believe that the world is going to fall apart. And they believe that their portfolios and their 401ks and their IRAs, all of their investments are going to fall apart. And so they sell it. And some of them are even what we call attempting to time the market. And the problem with doing that is that when you're going through it and you're going through all of the chaos in the market and everything is, and you feel that everything is falling apart, you don't realize that you're also, even though you're seeing a lot of big drops on a daily basis, you're also seeing the biggest gains in the history of the market that are happening all at the same time. So we have charts, and one of the things I do.
Interrupt you really quickly. You use the phrase "time the market." What does that mean exactly?
So some people think that, okay, so if I move my money out, so let's say something in the economy, let's use the pandemic, all right? Use the pandemic. Let's say a person has a diversified portfolio. They have mutual funds basically, and we have an event that happens, okay? All of a sudden the stock market drops about 5%. So what they end up doing is they sell everything. And that's timing the market. But they sell everything with the intention of coming back in, but they just want to try to ride everything out, okay? So what they do is they sell out, and then, okay, the market may go down some, but you never know when you get to that bottom point. Because when you get to that bottom point, the market it shoots right back up. It's almost like a rubber band or like an elastic. It shoots up, and it shoots up fast. And what ends up happening is that in a very short time, in a very narrow window, you will miss the best days on a bull run. And if you do that too many times, and let me back up, it doesn't have to be too many times. If you do that and miss out, you can miss. There are years where people have missed out on, 100%, 200% in a decade. There's many decades when that's happened. If you were to miss out, let's say on the top 10 best days in the market, just in a decade, the best 10 days in the market in a decade. But if you would have stayed in there, you would see that your portfolio will be so much higher. So I have seen clients, I've been doing this for a while, but there are a lot of people, and a lot of my clients are already trained to understand how this works. So that when we do have these events, one of the things they might do is they might even want to put more money into it when the market is down, all right? Because it's a sale, it's a fire sale. And when things are cheap, the best time to buy is when things are cheap. You go in, you buy it at a cheaper price, and that's an investment. And then as the market starts coming back, then you see your investments grow. And that's one of the things that I try to implement in my clients' habits, just to make sure that they understand that. So
makes sense.
Stay in and stop trying to time everything. That's always a losing strategy.
Yeah. I'll ask you, I've got just a couple more questions here. So it's a fascinating topic. Asset allocation. What is that, and why is it important?
Well, there are different assets that can make money for individuals. Individuals, companies, whatever it is. And let's say you have stocks. We were just talking about stocks. So you have stocks. You also have what's called bonds. Some people may call that fixed income. You have cash. You have commodities. You have oil, different things like that. There's also alternative investments. Again, there are different types of assets. All right. And we can break them down even into sectors within different asset groups. All right. For example, with stocks, you have your international, you have your domestic, you have your large cap, you have the small cap, mid cap. It's smart to diversify them and try to be advantageous and take advantage of the different asset groups when they're about to perform. Okay. Or while they're invested. So sometimes, let's say, for example, if equities are doing really well, you may want to position yourself in equities, of course, and just try to, especially if there's momentum. So you'll do that. And then let's say in another quarter, you might want to reallocate your asset allocation. And if you are a more moderate type investor, let's say you have, and I'm just using the traditional 40% in bonds, 60% in stocks. If all of a sudden that portfolio goes from 60%, because it's had a good run, goes from 60% of your portfolio to 90%, then you being a moderate investor would really be at more risk. Because if the market drops, then now 90% of your portfolio is in stocks. And 10% of it is in the more conservative investments, let's say, for example, bonds. So it's good to understand the asset allocation and to make sure that you're paying attention to it and make sure that you are rebalancing it to be true to your strategy. Okay? Things change. Some parts in your portfolio may do really, really well. Some parts of your portfolio may not have done well, but there's a good forecast that they may start to do well. So you may want to move more money into that opportunity while it's down, and you can purchase them. You can purchase more of that asset group at a cheaper price. But yeah, these are some of the things that we look at especially when it comes to asset allocation. At Merrill Lynch, we do have situations where we will look at different fund managers and we pick who we want to manage in each particular asset group. And if we like that, if we see that some of these managers are pretty much winners, or we like their strategy in certain scenarios, we'll pick them and put them in and put our clients in those portfolios. So we can be very tactical and strategic, in the way we invest with our clients, and just being opportunistic, so we can make money for people.
No doubt. So, okay. I think there is, I had one person tell me he likes to make introductions for others. I like to make introductions for him. And the only person I don't want an introduction to is a financial advisor. And I was thinking, man, why would that be the case? This person's a CPA, right?
Uh-huh.
But what is it that people are generally looking for, or what should they be looking for if they're interviewing financial advisors? What types of things should they be looking for, and what types of things should they avoid?
Well, if you're looking at, let's say, and I want to use this as an example. Let's say a person is 50 years old and they want to retire when they're like 50 years old, but they're pretty savvy with the market. They're pretty savvy with planning, and they understand that this money needs to last a long time. So it may need to last for the next 20, 30 years. Okay. And it's a good practice. Anytime you're interviewing with someone, and whether you're interviewing for a financial advisor, an employee, if you plan on that person being part of your strategy over a 10-year, 20-year period, you want to make sure that person is really, is listening to you. You want to make sure that person understands you. If that person doesn't understand you, you want to make sure that person has the ability and is motivated to understanding you. Okay? There's a difference between an advisor understanding you and telling you everything, what to do. Right? You make the final choice on whatever type of investment that you do. When it comes down to it, you are pretty much going to be responsible for how your investments grow. But it's smart to make sure that you are working with someone that has your best interest. Again, understand what's going on in your life, that you feel comfortable with telling what's going on in your life, because you're going to be working with this person. All right. Again, if you're a 50-year-old person and you want this money to last you till retirement, guess what? You may want to work with someone that you don't mind having a relationship with and having to communicate with for the next 20 years or 30 years. And again, it's not a contract that you have to stay with somebody that long, but it's good practice and it's prudent to make sure that you are knowing what you're getting into and making sure that you are liking the person that you're working with and that person understands you as an individual. Okay. I sort of wish that people wouldn't feel uncomfortable about talking with a financial advisor, because there's a lot of us that, we have a genuine interest in working with people and helping people hit certain goals.
Curtis, we're going to wrap up with this question, and that is, what do you enjoy about working with clients?
Well, I enjoy the same way clients are interviewing and looking for someone to work with. I also look for clients that I like working with also. And believe it or not, and you're asking me about what is that I enjoy about it. I get a lot back from my clients. I learn a lot about life from my clients. Most of my clients are older. Okay. Me, for example, I probably went through this whole retirement process maybe over 1,000 times just over the year, just talking with people, knowing the different processes, knowing what it's like. Again, having all these conversations. So I'm a professional at being a retiree and being on the eve of retiring. But I'm not a professional at being a human being all the time, being 40 years old. So guess what? I pick the minds of a lot of my clients, and I learn a lot from them, because there's a lot of things that they've been through that I may not have been through. So I enjoy having my meetings. I enjoy our client reviews, because I'm getting a lot out of our meetings the same way they're getting out of me. Again, mainly what I do is make sure that I'm managing the financial piece. But as we all know, money is very important. Okay. And I am extremely blessed that people trust me with their life savings, all of that, and achieving those type of goals. I am extremely blessed to be in that position. But I also understand that money is not always everything. Right? There's been plenty of times where a client may come in and I have all of their financials, all of their performance charts. We're getting ready to go over this, and they just say, Curtis, put that to the side. We're coming over here, Curtis, because we want to talk to you about what's going on in our life. All right. After a while, once we establish that trust and they start to trust me and they understand, because I'm trying to be transparent about the investing, I make sure that I'm a listener, and that's what a lot of clients are looking for also. And again, it's awesome career. Awesome. I don't even call it a job. It's an awesome career and practice to be in. So
beautiful. I appreciate you so much. This has been a fun talk as always. Curtis Lassiter. Curtis, what is your phone number?
My phone number is 757-599-2342.
Awesome.
And my email is curtis.lassiter@ml.com.
curtis.lassiter@ml.com. Perfect. Okay, well, I definitely look forward to having you back on, particularly as things progress. I think we're going to see a lot more changes. So hopeful to have another conversation with you soon.
Awesome.
Curtis, thanks so much for stopping by. curtis.lassiter@ml.com.
Welcome back to Black Wall Street Today on Smooth 88.1 WHOV.
Welcome back to this edition of Black Wall Street Today with Blair Durham, talking now with Hampton artist, Mr. Richard Press. Richard, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. Look, I stopped shy of a full introduction. I know you have a wealth of experience in education and so forth. Why don't you share just a little bit about your background and your incredible collection of art?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, I'm an Eastern Shore native. For those that don't know, that's around Cape Charles, Virginia, still in Virginia. I went to Norfolk State where I received my BFA. And since then, I have been very much involved in not just producing art, but encouraging art, teaching art, and trying to have coalitions of artists in the area to come together to produce shows and to be able to display and sell our works. I've been in quite a few exhibits myself. My most recent accomplishment was I was featured in USA Today in their documentary on slavery in America. Some of you are familiar with the 1619 Project. So that is the documentary that you can find on Google or some YouTubes. So lately I've been involved in some things for the community. Well, thank you. Some things for the community. One of the things that's coming up now is Juneteenth. Of course, we celebrate Juneteenth because we commemorate Juneteenth because it was the day that the emancipation was fully put into operation. Of course, we know the Emancipation Proclamation was in 1863, but it wasn't until 1865 that the state of Texas recognized it, which means that there were 2 extra years that slaves had to be in bondage before they recognized it. So that happened on June 19th in 1865. So now we celebrate or we commemorate June 19th. Every year, the downtown churches in Hampton, which is about 40 churches, will get together and they will march from downtown Hampton to the Emancipation Oak at Hampton University. There they will have a program and they will, tell the purpose of Juneteenth, and then they will march back. So this year I've been asked to facilitate a youth art exhibit. And it will be a jewelry, yes, and it will be a jewelry art exhibit. So I am trying to solicit youth, not just from City of Hampton, but from anywhere that can send me pictures to my email, which is Aura, PRESSS, Aura, at AOL.com. That's 3 S's. And we will jewelry the artwork. And on that day, on Juneteenth, June 19th, the City of Hampton is going to have tables displayed in front of City Hall. And we will display all of the artwork. The great thing is that the ages range from 10 to 24, but they're going to be categorized so that it's fair. The winner of each group will be able to display their artwork for a whole month in an art gallery in downtown Hampton, whatever the winning piece is. And at the culmination of that month, those particular youth will be able to bring out their portfolio and invite family and friends to come over and to look at and to view all of their works. So we hope it's a great opportunity for the youth. And we hope, number one, to get some youth.
Yeah, I'm certain that you will. Of note, I've gotten a couple of people reaching out about other kinds of Juneteenth celebrations that are taking place and poetry that they've been asked to write and perform, and just a number of different opportunities. Because Juneteenth only recently became something that, has become a bit more mainstream. And so I think with that, you're seeing a lot more opportunities to engage. Let me ask you about the theme for this year's event. Still walking for racial justice and equity. That's heavy. Right. You have that kind of picture of the boot print. And it just reminds me of, the ways in which 2021 has already been a lot like, and in some cases worse, than 2020. What do you hope that this kind of event will engender? What do you hope that it will inspire in its participants?
Well, just about everything that we do when it comes to art exhibits is not only just to show art, but it is the underlying purpose of all the exhibits that we do is to educate. That's why in most of the artwork that you see that my group does, there are generally stories behind the art. We know, and I know personally, that a lot of the rich history of our race was not afforded to us. I can remember in high school getting used books from the white schools. When they finished with their books, instead of us getting new books, they would give us the books from the white school, and pages would be torn out. The same pages in each book would be torn out. Purposely. Wow. Creating a sense of ignorance in us. So I had an opportunity to teach at a high school, Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, where I tried to correct some of those misinformations, and I'm glad I did. But now, as artists, we can do that in our art now, and we don't want to create something that is negative, but we do want to show what the negative aspects of our history was. So to answer your question, what we hope to do is to inspire people, number one, to learn your history, and number two, to try to do something about it. And the boot and to keep on walking is more a metaphor that we should not rest on what we know, because we always know there's so much more out there to learn. And if we stop walking, and if we stop talking, and if we stop trying to pursue our history, then we're not making any kind of footprints at all for the people that's coming behind us.
That's pretty powerful. This idea of making footprints. We've got about 4 minutes remaining. There's a list of 6 different types of reparations. So you have a return to sovereignty or political authority, which is important, right? Truth commissions. That's really important, right? Because that gets at the heart of what we're talking about is, what is the real story?
Right.
Group entitlements. So certain fringe benefits associated with, your particular ethnicity. Community development programs. I think we're seeing a little of that. We're seeing money transfer. That's the 5th one that's listed here, money transfer. Mm-hmm. And then property transfer. And then the 7th item listed here is some combination of the first 6 options. Interesting, right? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. I think one of the big ones is property transfer.
Yeah, we're not seeing much of that.
Yes. There's some of the land that's being owned right now by white people was gotten under maybe an illegal document that transferred the land from the black people to the white people. And as far as they're concerned, it was legally done. But there's also a thing called, selling property under duress. When you sell something under duress, either you're going to sell it or you're going to die, or they're going to take it. So
right.
They need to look at those type of documents.
Brought up the confiscation of land, because that's the section that immediately preceded this piece on reparations in this textbook.
Right.
There were confiscation arrangements pertinent to many lands in the South, whereby, we lost it all. We lost it all. Very interesting. Go ahead.
We did. But I think you'll find a lot of that. If you start researching what happened right after the Nat Turner Rebellion, you're going to find that a lot of the land that blacks owned was sold off because the white man was afraid to allow blacks to have land because they didn't want this rebellion to happen in their territory. And they would go and try to buy off as much land as they could from the black people. So I know that happened in my hometown on the Eastern Shore, so I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, very interesting. We've got about 2 minutes remaining, 1 minute remaining. And I want to make sure we reiterate the details for how individuals can participate and how they can encourage their youth to participate in the upcoming Still Walking for Racial Justice and Equity juried art contest for youth.
Sure. So they are from ages 10 to 24. There'll be one group from 10 to 14, one group from 15 to 20, and one group from 21 to 24 to make it nice and fair. All they have to do is, first of all, submit their artwork to me in the email, and I'll send you the flyer.
And that's our press. If you want to submit the artwork, it's our press, RPRESSSR at AOL.com. So that's
right.
Our press senior, RPRESSSR at AOL.com.
Right. And there's a phone number on there that they can also call me. I will gather all the pictures and I will give them to our jury. And then we'll notify the youth that their work has been selected. And then just to be present and bring your work on that day, on June the 19th. And we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Richard, I want to thank you so much for this interview and for the great work that you're doing as an artist and through your artistry as a community activist. This is fantastic.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to Black Wall Street today. Very honored to have had Mr. Curtis Lassiter with us, as well as Mr. Michael Gray with Apex Financial Group of Virginia. Certainly honored to have Richard Press with us today as well. Looking forward, of course, to the upcoming Juneteenth events, including the Still Walking for Racial Justice and Equity event. Again, you can reach Richard Press and submit art by contacting him at 757-303-0253, as well as by sending an email to rpressssr@aol.com. And thanks so much for tuning in to Black Wall Street today, where we're building minds, building connections, and forging the path ahead toward business success in the Black community. We'll talk next week.
Stay locked in.
This show is brought to you by the consulting services of Positive Vibes Incorporated. We do credit fixes, we do debt restructuring, and we put money in the pockets of real estate investors. So give us a call. We can fix your credit. We can restructure your debt. And if you're a real estate investor, I would love to put thousands of dollars into your pockets. 757-932-0177. That's 757-932-0177.
Phenomenal. Stay with us online at Black Wall Street Today on Facebook and Black Wall Street Today on Instagram, and then follow us on Twitter as well at BWS Today. We look forward to talking again next week. Have a wonderful week. I have said and I will continue to say that the most important priority for the Black community is the Black community, not a particular political party. Phenomenal.
Hey, yo, when I say black, you say Wall Street. Black Wall Street.